computer. All right.
Okay.
We got Leonard in remote location here in an airport, beautiful Phoenix airport, and Debbie as well. So that's awesome. Oh, so let me start with my little musical. So obviously Leonard doesn't have his guitar with him, so everyone's forced to now listen to me.
You're my backup.
I'm the backup.
You're my backup.
All right, here we go.
Little
wing in the morning.
I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that Pete likes guitars, maybe.
Just maybe. Yeah, you have that beautiful white one, man.
Yeah, that is
guitar,
a
great
79 Strat back there. Yeah. I was telling Leonard that was actually, I got that for my bar mitzvah. That's how old it is. And that's a nice one back there. And then there's a Martin Dreadnought next to it.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, the Martins are so amazing. I love going to the NAMM show and hanging out in their stand and just checking out. Their guitars sound so great.
Oh yeah.
You know?
No, it's amazing. They're artists. They're artists, you know. So
fantastic. So really quick, we gotta do our disclaimer. Hey everybody, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. Just a gentle reminder, you take us seriously at your own risk, people. Do not do investments or any of this crap.
That's right.
Based on what we say. Don't do the opposite. Don't, do for it. Just, we're having fun. Exactly. And just want to say, it's just an absolute pleasure to have Debbie Reynolds on. She is the Data Diva. She's been on my podcast several times. We have a collaboration going on. And, man, talk about somebody who's a pioneer that really, dug deep, leaned into privacy early on before anybody was really talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of Debbie. And Debbie, welcome. It's so good to have you on IoT Coffee Talk of all places.
Thank you. It took me a long time to get my schedule so that I could be on one of these. So I was happy to jump in today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
Bill's wanted you on, and I don't know why he's not here. You can give him a hard time when he comes on, though.
That's right. You should totally.
No, you can. You can give him a. You can raise them. Publicly here on IoT Coffee Talk right in the face. If you don't, I will.
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah. So
Leonard, where are you coming from? Where are you going? What is your transit situation?
Yeah, this week is crazy, right? We have Intel Innovation, so that's what I was attending past couple of days. Great conference. Hosted obviously by Intel. There's Embedded World going on.
Yeah, right? That's right.
A lot of news coming out of Embedded World. Yeah, I was just triple booked, so I'm just attending virtually certain conferences. There's Google Cloud Next or Next Cloud, or whatever they call it, right? And I'm missing something else.
I'm sure there's a few.
But anyway,
there's probably a half a dozen other ones going on at the same time.
Yeah. So, it's been really insane week, and at Intel. It's funny. I mentioned to you guys earlier, but of course, I hang out with a bunch of analysts, and we see each other at all these conferences. I think collectively, all of us have AI fatigue, and it's really, it's weird because the term AI, the acronym AI has been appropriated by generative AI. So now when people get on stage and they go AI, they're really kind of talking about generative AI, right? Mm-hmm. And so I feel really bad for all the other AI stuff out there that actually works. That, enterprises have been using industrial companies and manufacturing and what have you have been using for a long time. It's primarily computer vision, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is kind of, well, I think now that AI has kind of become a, 6 o'clock news story in the public consciousness, it's been, obviously a little bit oversimplified. When they talk about it, they talk about generative AI or chatbots or things like that. But as we know, there's been, anomaly detection and AI vision using CNNs and all kinds of stuff. But, that's like a level of detail that tends to not get focused. I think actually it's good. Oh, Bill's here. I think it's good. Oh, cool. I mean, to a certain extent, it's like all this attention, all this Main Street attention to AI, I think is helping a lot of the more obscure applications of AI over the years that are now getting a little more attention, which is good. But at the same time, they tend to be a little oversimplified. But that's part of our job, right, is to help explain to folks where is AI really applicable to help businesses, and where is it maybe more of a science experiment or a cool demo. So beware of that cool demo,
Well, at least you kick the tires on that stuff, hard. Hey, Bill, what's up?
There's Bill.
What's up?
Hey, guess who's on?
Hey, Debbie.
Hey, Bill. Thank you for bringing your radio voice. I love it.
Oh, well, I've been carrying this with me since I was 13. So,
Are you serious? You're a 13-year-old with that voice?
I was 13, and no, get this. I would go, I might have friends, a female friend. I'd go to her house, and my voice is deeper than her father's.
My God.
And I was told, I don't know how many times, you better take some of that baritone out of your voice. And I'm like, hi. I think you might want to gain some.
I can only imagine that. Hi, Mommy. I had a good day at school today. Can I have some orange juice?
But it's worked out well. It's worked out well.
Good.
Yeah. Well, you're on IoT Coffee Talk. It's the next best thing to being on radio, right? So
that's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So we're just so excited. So Debbie, what's up? What have you been up to lately?
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt we're going to be talking about privacy and security to some degree, right? So
yeah. Wow. Let's see.
Let the people know.
I do a lot of speaking about AI because my background in tech. I'm a technologist, and I've helped companies for many years around digital transformation. So a lot of it is, what is this generative AI stuff? How do I use it? Should I use it? What are not only the benefits, which we hear a lot of that, right? But what are kind of the risks, and why should I or should I not use it? So, I've been talking to, teeny weeny companies like, PayPal and Coca-Cola and Uber about these things.
Teeny weeny.
Yeah,
Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola chatbot. Yeah, I can use one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's one of those things where, it's a tool, and it's like a lot of companies who want to use it, they start with, let's we want to adopt AI, and they spend money and they get this tool, and then they can't use it, right? Like they don't know. First of all, they may not have a skill in how to use it. It may not be the right tool. A lot of companies, their data isn't in any shape whatsoever for them to even adopt any AI at all, right? So a lot of that is, I guess if you wanted to put a nail in the wall, you could use a wrench, but it's probably not the best thing, maybe get a hammer for that. So I think so many people, unfortunately, are leading with the technology and not really thinking about what their true problems are. Yeah. And not all their problems need AI, right? You can, so to me, a lot of, I get concerned when companies say, in order for us to solve our problems, we need more data. Right. I'm like, you have data you don't even know how to manage right now, right? So you probably have the answers that you need in the data that you have right now. So more data is not the solution, and a lot of times more technology may not be the solution as well. So just really thinking through what those problems are, and a lot of people are gonna, get a hard wake up call on that, right?
Yeah.
Where they spent a lot of money, and I see a lot of money going into tools. I'm not seeing enough money going into training and education because we have to upskill people as well. So
I think
there's just a lot of things converging right now.
But
I think
my impression is that there's a lot of people talking about Gen AI transformation. Number one, let's remember this is new. Hardly any companies have ever done it. There's not a lot of consultants out there that know even what the path to value is. Okay, that is straight up. So when when you get these guys coming up to you and saying, "Hey, we can help you reinvent your business with GenAI," I mean, that's red flag time. That's where you need to get your CISO, your CIO, your domain experts. I mean, forget them for the moment. Get them to kick the tires on these companies. It doesn't matter at what scale. Even the biggest guys, they don't have that kind of scaled out, mature experience. Actually, to call themselves consultants. I mean, that's one of the things that go around, and I talk to a lot of companies. That's what I get from the temperature check that I get. So, right now everyone's doing discovery. And Debbie, you're right. It's not just data. People have crappy information, and they really have terrible knowledge bases. Knowledge management historically has been really, really challenging for any enterprise. And that is really what you need to feed into these large language models if you're going to do fine tuning, or you're going to do a RAG or whatever. And, if you shortcut this stuff, you're really going to get a lot of junk, because there's a whole life cycle that people have largely ignored until now. And even I think that life cycle conversation is still really immature. And I talked to a couple of vendors. I'm not going to name names, but they are basically positioning some of their, let's say, conventional AI management, lifecycle management tools, whether it's AI ops or they're trying to call it Gen AI ops stuff, and then Gen AI management. These conventional governance tools and dev tools and frameworks, they're trying to transpose that onto Gen AI. And when you ask the questions that I usually ask, you find out, wait a minute, okay, this stuff is not going to work like that.
Right.
And so there's going to be a ton of learning, but most of the learning is going to be not, what these things can do, it's what they can't do and what people really, really know about, how to get the value of these tools,
Yeah.
I think also part of it is I was going to say the definition of terms, like, generative AI, usually that refers to like transformer model architecture, right? Which is different than a large language model. And so you could use generative AI and like vision transformers, right, to analyze complex images. And that's really valuable. Like you can use very low cost image collection and then use generative AI as an image transformer to describe what's in that scene or what's happening. And so it's way beyond sort of the traditional sort of hot dog, not hot dog, kind of vision AI. But then there's like the actual chat bots and things. When people think of generative AI, they think of chat bots. And like you were saying, Leonard, and also Debbie, like a lot of these companies think they'll just sort of throw up a chat bot based on their corporate data. And the fact is the heavy lifting is the corporate data is kind of a mess. It's in no position to be indexed and training a chat bot, and that's if there's some money to be made for consultants, it's working with companies to get their data in shape, their existing data, so that they could then do things with it. But when people take a look at their corporate data, remember when I was at Microsoft, we always had a corporate search at MSW, and it would search across all these SharePoints at Microsoft for your answer, and it was always a mess. Like it would just be random SharePoints from 100,000 employees. Yeah. And you'd be like, I'm not finding anything of value in this at all. So that's kind of where it's at with a lot of companies. It's a bunch of SharePoints with a bunch of data on it. Someone needs to go in there and clean it up and make sense of it so you can train it. if you're going to use it.
Yeah.
And that's heavy lifting. It's not glamorous.
Yeah. I guess two things. Governance within data governance has been woefully undervalued and resourced within organizations. So in order for companies to be in a position to even do stuff that they're dreaming of, they have to have their house in order on the data governance side, and a lot of people don't have it. And to Pete's idea, as soon as I heard people trying to do, use generative AI as some type of like enterprise search, I thought around what a disaster enterprise search was, because a lot of people are like, yeah, let's just search everything. And then they're like, oh my God, why is that? And, they don't have, the permissions are not right. This is all types of stuff. So there are things that are, so many companies have done security by obscurity, right? Where stuff is out there, it's not properly secure, but they're like, oh, no one's going to look at that. No one cares about that. But then now you have something that's actively sucking data into it and is putting it out. And it's like, okay, well, marketing wasn't supposed to see the HR stuff or, all this other type of stuff.
Or that secret project, that's now in the enterprise search results at the top of this thing. And it's like,
So, I mean, we still haven't solved those foundational base problems. So trying to add something new on top is huge red flag.
I mean, that's a big Band-Aid, right? At the end of the day. I mean, for 12 years, every single city that I've worked with has had the same issue. They have tons of data. It's not contextualized. It's not organized. It's dirty data, and it's in a multitude of formats. And I mean, so yes, the data problem is going to exist until they take it serious enough. And they're ignoring the brownfield issues and looking towards the greenfield opportunities and saying, oh, well, we can get out of our tech debt by doing this. And I mean, all the digital twins that have been built use machine learning. They just do. And to say that we transform from machine learning into the AI part of it, I have an issue when it comes to trust. I have an issue when it comes to governance, provenance, and immutability. I have an issue across all those things. So how about we go back, look at what the foundation needs to be, secure that foundation, and start to work forward from there. All of this, every single company, every single CSP has AI. Oh, you should come and try our AI platform. Get the hell out of here with that. Well, how about we go solve some real problems and make sure that Log4j doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I mean, your comment about, actually, it was odd. We had a lot of conversations at Intel Innovation about greenfield and brownfield. I was at a dinner with some analysts, and we were talking about, we were talking about AI, that whole process of getting it to value, right? So the path of value. A lot of people don't talk about how these things have to learn. You just assume, hey, you go and you set up a vector database and you friggin' plug it into every single thing you have in your enterprise, and next day this thing is going to do exponential stuff for your business. That's like, no, that's not how it works. It's going to get a crap ton of stuff wrong. There's going to have to be human reinforcement live on your business. And you're going to have to freaking teach this thing, babysit this thing until it gets to a point where it's actually effective. Why people don't understand this, it just is it's a testament to how little people actually understand AI. And there's so many people talking about it. But you have to understand it, holistically, how solutions come to market. And, I had a really interesting conversation with one of the analysts from one of the big firms who actually has a technical background like me, right? Actually had to deliver stuff and, work in the trenches. And we're saying, that's the problem with, you have a lot of folks in the industry who never actually delivered crap. Putting ridiculous notions of how technologies translate into business value. They've never seen or experienced that cycle. They've maybe read about it, but it's usually wrong. It's academic. That's not how stuff works. That's not how shit works, as they say, right? Or as Bill would say. And, get the hell out of here with that stuff, because without these kind of nuanced, perspectives on how things actually work, it's all just
the expectations are misset, and the CEO is wondering why their chatbot doesn't work right, and that's part of the learning curve. I think the places where I've seen the large language models be more successful in generative AI is when they're sort of co-pilots of existing solutions. So the co-pilot for GitHub, for example, things like that, where you've got a platform that's pretty focused. And now you're supercharging it with some, generative AI to help people who are using that platform get more out of it. I think that's a much better return on value than some of the more generic enterprise enablement stuff I've seen. But, we'll see.
Yeah. Also, I think companies should start small, right? So start with those smaller, low risk things, but don't start to slide into those higher risk areas, right? So I don't think anybody cares if you use it for a low risk, item. You're not going to hurt anybody. Maybe you hurt your pocketbook because you spent a lot of money on a tool or consulting, but at least you're not going to harm anyone. Their rights and things like that.
And that's an interesting comment, Debbie, because, you and I have talked about this before, right? But a lot of the values comes from more narrow applications. It doesn't have to be narrow AI, but the scope of the application, what it does, how it's designed, and the boundaries that you give it in terms of how it can impact your business is narrow. And then, you can manage it, you can channel what it does, govern what it does, so that it helps the organization. And there's a lot more talk about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot more talk
about definition. That. I mean, can we talk about definition? I mean,
what's AI?
Real, right? So look, every organization says, they'll say, "Oh, we're experimenting with AI." Okay, so the very first question I have is, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. Oh my God.
What does that mean to you? You're experimenting with AI. Okay. In what capacity, in what way, shape, or form, and what is your desired outcome?
Right. Less labor costs.
Because so many times they're like, "Oh, well, we're doing this," and I'm like, Splunk does that. "Oh, well, we're doing this and we're doing that." I'm like, spreadsheets do that. I mean,
right.
I mean, come on, name something that this thing is doing that I can't do with a spreadsheet.
One of my favorite scenario this week, I use Streamyard to record, and we're recording this Windows Phone Microsoft Mobile series, and we record video snippets. And one of the cool things that they've added into Streamyard for free, apparently, so they're not even charging extra for it now, is it'll generate like video highlights, a 1-minute video highlight from your recording. So it'll analyze the content. It'll use generative AI to sort of analyze what's being said, and it'll come up with some nice. And that works like pretty darn good. So for me, like that's a great example where I've just saved like an hour. And to be honest with you, if they charge me extra for it, I would pay it. But they don't. They're just throwing it in there. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these AI capabilities added into existing systems and business systems too, SAP and payroll and all kinds of stuff where it'll give you more analysis of the content.
But isn't that just glorified indexing?
Well, it's indexing, but it's also analyzing the index and like giving you it really is kind of like almost like labor replacement, right? So it's like instead of someone doing the work, the computer's doing the work for you or for that person. So
Final Cut does that.
Final Cut is hard.
Final Cut's
it's harder. Yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah,
right.
On my pay grade.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
We're talking about things that do exist. So we're talking about simplification of workflows.
Yep.
And perfect. So if
do more with less, save time, save money, maybe save labor costs. Now the question is it as good? I mean, I always say like AI on one hand supercharges the employee and makes them so much
More
better.
productive?
That's the best way. And on the worst case, it replaces that employee with something that's like kind of 80% as good, which is bad. So, different companies are going to embrace different strategies with it.
Yeah, but then there's the other part of the equation, and Debbie and I talked about this very early on the podcast we did, is the 20% where it actually causes harm, and where it can actually inject, bad information and disrupt the business, right? Yeah. And we've already seen examples of that. And then, who do you blame? Do you blame the person? Do you blame the AI? But these are things constructs that people usually don't produce, right? It's like, and so that's the other thing that has to be factored in, is you have to look at the risk aspect. And, Debbie, I think that's what we were trying to, we consistently, and even on IoT Coffee Talk, keep getting people to understand the risk side of things. Don't just focus on the shiny object. And no, we don't need to go and experiment and get things wrong. You can understand, you can do a little bit of homework, understand, or talk to pros and experts and understand how you get to a path of value, and not spend a ton of money on stuff that you're going to eventually just throw away and could potentially even do harm. I mean, there's things called best practices, right? And, people just tend to lose their minds and forget about it.
But there's no best practices around AI.
Yeah. I always like to tell people when we're thinking about AI and this like speed of AI adoption, it really is profit for the companies that are selling it, but the risk is all of yours, right? So what you purchase is risk. So you need to really figure out, how are you going to manage that risk? Because that company that is selling you that tool, they're not going to be responsible, right? They're not going to be hauled into court. They're like, hey, Leonard bought this tool and this is what he did with it. Shame on you, Leonard. You shouldn't have done that, right? And so
they have indemnification clauses built in heavily on that stuff.
Yeah.
Or at least they try.
They try, yeah. Right. Yeah. But it's all about the use of those tools. And so if you don't really understand it, I tell people, if you don't understand it, don't use it.
Right. I think
those are best practices, right?
Yeah, education, I think, Debbie, you mentioned, is really key. I think, there's no shortage of opportunities to get educated on the web about, these types of AI techniques and, getting a little bit of, understanding of the taxonomy. And so when you are talking with your suppliers, you're coming at it with, a decent amount of understanding to begin with, right? Don't get educated by your suppliers, get educated and then talk to your suppliers and figure out a solution. So there's lots of great resources on the web to get educated about all these different types of AI, not just the generative AI. And
if you look at, here's one of the issues that I have about how it's being applied, where it's being applied, the experimentation of it, and who they're experimenting on. And if you look at some of the larger, more informative posts on LinkedIn, there's a little thing underneath that says takeaways. And it's going to summarize that entire thing for you. And I'm like, well, I didn't ask for the Cliff Notes version.
Oh, is that a LinkedIn feature?
So
is
that form an opinion or perspective?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I haven't seen that. Oh, so LinkedIn is running like generative AI on your post to summarize it for people.
Yeah.
I think that's really dangerous.
Yeah, it is. It is. Right.
I wouldn't want to be misrepresented by LinkedIn. I have a public persona that I want to control. I want people to know me with my full conscious awareness of what is out there. And I don't want anything doctoring and interpreting what I said. If you want to know what I said in something, you come and freaking ask me. You paid me money. You don't pay LinkedIn money.
That's
right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, don't go, and then LinkedIn, don't go messing with my business. Don't be messing with me.
Yeah.
Because if you misrepresent me, and this is going to be a new thing, I bet you $1 million that's going to start happening, is you see these passive generative AI tools misrepresenting people, and then people are going to sue the platforms for slander and libel.
Well, there's bias based into the model, built into the model.
And, yeah. And it could be material because we, like, for instance, with LinkedIn, we get on LinkedIn for professional reasons. This isn't for so we can get on and say a bunch of nonsense about politics and, Taylor Swift and crap like that. This is for livelihood. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think and that's the thing that scares the crap out of me. I mean, I do go to I talk to all these companies that are in the Gen AI game. The lack of thought in the regards that, in terms of responsible, safe AI is astonishing. And a lot of these are still evolving because a lot of them have not thought forward in terms of what are those responsible and ethical principles we need to adhere to. It's literally innovation first. Who cares about all this stuff and harm? We'll figure out the harm part later. We're $1 trillion company, so whatever, they can sue us and whatever.
Growth at any cost, right?
Yeah, we'll let the shareholders pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, one thing also I've seen is, people, there's a whole trend for, it's kind of like you were saying with LinkedIn, Bill, like the danger is AI kind of waters down everyone's language and genericizes it. And then like you get your profile picture through Microsoft Designer and everyone then ends up looking basically like the same cartoon, So it's just a bunch of similar cartoons saying similar things, because it's all going through the same AI engine. That's kind of a worst case scenario, I guess.
Yeah. It's sort of it's a sort of a muted sameness of things.
Yeah.
So I
like
think
strip mall of chain stores,
Yeah, totally.
You see in every city.
Yeah, right.
Like, all right.
Well, I think that's important that we do original content, right? Because will definitely stick out and stand out from kind of that sameness, the sea of sameness, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I had read that there's, different like propaganda newspapers and stuff and news sources being generated on the web that are totally AI generated to, push out stories, and then they get picked up by social media and quoted and requoted. And so the whole area of disinformation is just, it's, very ripe right now for these engines to sort of just generate content that sort of looks somewhat accurate and then it gets picked up. So that's and there's no transparency. To your idea of ethics and best practices, there's no regulations on transparency of what's AI generated and stuff. I know when I upload videos to YouTube, it asks me like, is this AI generated? And I can either click the box or not, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a pinky swear. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Of course I did it. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but
There's no, so again, we're back to the trust piece of it for me. There's that trust piece, and I don't have any proof that, there's no auditability of that content that I'm looking at to say that, yes, this actually came from this.
Yeah. How was it actually generated? Who generated it? When was it generated? How was it manipulated or edited? And, now that's all on the, I think on the commercial side, like we were talking originally about, I love the use of AI for like anomaly detection and other optimizations in the warehouse and manufacturing and inspecting quality and, route optimization. There's so many things. And so I don't want people to take away that, AI is necessarily bad. What we're talking about the applicability of this generative AI in more of the language space facing out that can be really kind of a mess. And unfortunately, it's getting a lot of the press, but there's a lot of other stuff around AI, probably 90% of the AI that's actually pretty.
Yeah. And that, I think that's the tragedy of the misappropriation really of the term AI. You're absolutely right. We need to be specific. Let's talk about the problem at hand, which is generative AI. Don't mix it with all the deep learning, classical stuff people have been working for a long time to embed it into their applications to augment things, right? And that's been the primary role of AI in general. But here's a. I just want to go back to one of the things that we were talking about earlier about this mass production of same stuff. So I used to work with the early .com companies, a lot of search engine companies. So I saw how all the dirty laundry in the back. Okay, and you get a glimpse of humanity. And let's put it this way: the stuff that actually is going to make money is a lot of really dirty stuff. It's not Bible quotes. Don't count on that. And it's already starting to happen. If you go and you're getting pushed a lot of synthetic, like suggestive stuff now on YouTube and other platforms. And that is what makes money, because that is what people are attracted to. I mean, and think about that for a moment. When you give everybody the ability to, create massive amounts of content defecation, what is it? There are, regular patterns that we've seen through history.
Yeah.
Of what that
and
what
unfortunately
do with that.
We now have the tools to measure the engagement of that content and reinforce to create more of that content, and it's a spiral downward culturally, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's not knowledge enhancing stuff. It's not productivity related stuff. It's stuff that arguably goes completely the opposite direction. And that's a sad reality. But then that's a dynamic and a risk that people should factor in, and they haven't done that yet, right? And I had a couple of conversations with actually some of the big companies about that, and they will not deny, yes, that is how a lot of this stuff, whether it's the internet or e-commerce or like online payments, crypto is what kind of fueled a lot of these things in the beginning. And so, I think on the risk side, those are things that we have to manage. But then making things, the thing that I think a lot of folks are realizing, we have to go narrow with these solutions, and you have to manage the risk. Otherwise, you cannot channel value through these technologies.
And be educated about it.
Yeah. If you ignore the risk side, you cannot get value, because it will just corrupt everything along the way. And so again, best practice, right? And we've been saying that from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So
looked like we had Rob on for about 5 minutes. He was driving, and then he might.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's heading out San Antonio way.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. He's spending a lot of time in Texas.
Yeah, a long time.
All right, I'm about to pull into a Buc-ee's.
Oh, there's Rob. Rob is still with us. Where is he?
We're gonna drop some Texas love on our audience.
The disembodied voice of Rob Tiffany.
Exactly.
Deus ex machina.
It is ex machina. That's right.
Oh my god. How's it going?
It's
Rob?
good. Just driving from Houston to San Antonio. So we're Luling, almost there. We're going to stop at Buc-ee's because you have to do that when you're in Texas,
You must do that. That is mandatory.
It is mandatory. It's the coolest thing ever, And you guys don't even know.
Stuck in there for like 2 to 3 hours easy.
I'll have to look that up because I've never been to a Buc-ee's, but don't hold it against me.
What you're missing. Think about the ultimate biggest gas station in the world.
Okay. Sounds like a Texas thing.
And then almost a small kind of Walmart inside the building, that you would normally think of as your little convenience store. And then it's all cool Texas stuff to buy.
Okay.
Like, you might need a Texas charcuterie board, for instance. I don't know.
Cool.
All right. Here, we're going in.
Or a massive rhinestone belt buckle.
Yeah,
or just flat out food, because they're in there barbecuing briskets, pork butts, you name it.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
there
no
it
way.
is. Oh. Rob's taking us into the Buc-ee's. What else is happening with IoT this week? Well, we talked about embedded worlds happening. Haven't seen a lot of news yet out of embedded world, but it should be quite a show, I think, especially on the heels of the NVIDIA GTC conference. There seems to be a resurgence of these in-person events. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. So I'm one of 16 Americans on a IoT Advisory Board for the Department of Commerce. And our advisory board report will be out, I think, at the end of May and the beginning of June. So I'll share that on LinkedIn when it comes out. So
cool.
Oh, that'd be great.
Is that the same one? Is that the same one that Benson's on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Benson Chan.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. So it'll be out, but I'll release it to everyone when it comes out because it'll be public. So it'll be great.
Good.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, it looks like
anything you can share, or are you just gonna tell us?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's some good stuff in there around privacy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the report, right? So, because we're supposed to look at a lot of different industries, different cross sections. So there's kind of vertical and horizontal stuff. I work more on the horizontal privacy stuff. So there are some recommendations in there around cars and transparency around privacy for cars. We're advocating for a universal opt-out for data sale from IoT devices, as well as possibly having some type of privacy notice on a sticker for cars to get sold, either new or used. Actually, we have some. There are some lobbyist groups that are trying to squash that. That's not going to work. So that'll be in a report as well. But yeah, there's quite a few things. Obviously, we're saying, hey, we need a federal privacy law. And we need to make sure that IoT is in that as well.
Did you address that whole issue that we have with that don't sell my data toggle, opt-in, opt-out toggle? How they make it super confusing so that you don't know whether or not.
No. Well,
you didn't put anything.
No, we didn't put anything in there about that.
It should be all It should be
It should be opt-in, right? It should be opt-in.
Yeah, it should
instead of opting out. Yeah.
Default opted out.
Yeah.
And then they have to prompt you to opt into anything.
Yeah.
That forces people to read stuff, right? But then it also forces the service provider or whoever to explain the value of exchanging your information. The other way doesn't make any freaking sense.
That would kill their business. I mean, I commented on something like that. Well, so I'm doing the whole smart home thing, and they were like, okay, well, we're gonna run Roku's, and I'm like, no, you're not. No, Roku had over 300 third party that they were sharing data, and they're like, this. If you want to opt out now, I got to go through each one of them to opt out. And in some of them, I couldn't opt out. And I was like, that ain't happening. I'm done with this. We're going to figure out another way to do video distribution and everything, because I don't trust, you don't even know 300 people like that.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. That's why it's important. The universal opt-out is very important. All of us would like to see the opt-in, but it's so hard to get that. I mean, so many people come out the woodwork. Even, there's a brand new proposal for privacy regulation in the U.S., so I don't know how it's going to work. But even there, it's like, that's almost like the third rail asking for. But I mean, we'll get there, but there are so many gaps and holes already in privacy. We're just trying to build a better foundation that we can build on. So.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Well, you heard the news this week from Google that the Chrome browser incognito mode, actually, you were actually not incognito when you were in incognito mode. And I think Google had to sort of fess up to that. So sometimes.
Wasn't that a while back? That was a while back, right?
I read about it like this past week.
Well, yeah,
Really?
Right. So
I think about 2 months ago.
Well, the settlements have become public, right? So like the actions they have to take, like they have to delete a lot of data. There's a lot of money they have to pay and different things like that. So that, I think that part of that story came out recently.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, no, there's a lot of work to do there for sure, especially in the US. I think maybe Europe's a little ahead, Debbie. I don't know. Do you think the EU is kind of showing the way here in terms of data privacy and sort of a little more universal?
The EU is about 25 plus years ahead of us on privacy. Yeah. So
a generation, basically, an entire generation.
They're all paranoid about each other. So
so they're way far ahead. So they had a data directive that came out in 1995 in the EU. And so we haven't even gotten there yet.
Wow.
Where they were in 1995. So we got a while to go. But all these efforts, sometimes it's baby steps. So for us,
true.
It's sort of like us trying to pave a road that is not yet paved, right? So we have to knock those mountains down and actually.
Sounds like you're still sort of making the road. The dirt.
We're making the road. We're making the road. We're moving the boulders out of the road and trying to pave a road. That's what we're trying to do.
But we've kind of invented the surveillance economy, right? And it's totally anti, opt-in. It's default. You are opted in.
Yeah. Well, it's the advertised-based internet. The internet is advertising-based.
Well, think about it. If you're in digital marketing, that is your currency. That's your economy. And, privacy policies and privacy rights should be citizens first, not, digital marketers first, right? I mean, I think that's just the perspective I want to put out there. And to go weak on that, I think any government agency or, government or regulator is really not looking after the citizen, right? I mean, sure, it's going to help, or it's going to hurt digital marketers, but you can adapt. Maybe actually it'll create more human jobs because it'll take all this massive automation that's been happening that sits on top of this massive, public but unconsented, corpus of data about people. It'll make that illegal. Then people actually have to work really hard to get the message out, right?
I think
and that'll create jobs. You got to think about it like that.
Unfortunately, I think the consumer tech world is addicted to free, and because of the ad subsidies and the data selling and the whole soil and green, you are the product approach for a consumer. On the commercial side, I think people are used to paying and pay appropriately, but the consumer one, that's going to be like Debbie said, it's going to take a while to sort of bend things. And I think again, gets back to education. The more that people are educated about the privacy in their data and how they're being monetized, the more they'll insist on these types of, opt-in mechanisms. But there's a lot of money at stake, so I can imagine there's a lot of lobbying.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
this is kind of how we run our business. So
I don't know. Do you guys, Debbie, maybe you have seen this, because I'm curious. Gen Z does not seem to care about that end of the game. They're like, whatever it is, accept. And I just gave away all of my data.
Yeah, I think, Jen, I think that's true. I think that's true. And a lot of it is like, oh, well, let me have a cotton candy now. And then, I don't care. My teeth are going to fall out in 6 months. So, the harm is down the road. And I think it's designed that way, right? To get you to give up something like in the moment, in the heat of the moment, that you may regret later, but then it's too late. So
it's too late. You can't you cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's like a lot of
it's a time thing from my perspective. So you have this generation now that is actually cognizant and wanting to protect personal data as well as everything else. Everything that I'm doing, it's mine. But then you have the generation behind us that's saying, you know what, I really don't care. They already know everything. They already know everything about me anyway, so I don't care.
To a certain extent, they have a point. But there's also boomers, the whole boomer folks. You look on Facebook and they're sharing all kinds of stuff and answering all kinds of quizzes about their favorite pet names and whatever, and giving up their passwords left and right. So, and posting their grandchildren's pictures. I mean, it's really sad.
Yeah. they take a selfie and then they have the computer in the background with the password on a sticky.
It's it's pretty insidious out there, and it's going to take it's a generational thing. It's going to take a long time to keep bending it toward personal privacy and personal empowerment on that data, but it's a good start.
Well, ignorance is bliss and someone else's massive profit. So that's the other way to look at it.
Yeah, we're undeterred. So lobbyists, don't come for me. You don't want to. I'm not for play. So.
That is the truth.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I think that just has to be, that's the thing. It's like awareness, and
it's awareness.
There's a lot of people who just, they're apologists for digital marketers, right?
What was that? There used to be all these
nothing you can do about it. Actually,
PSAs on TV about, the more you know or whatever. Maybe there needs to be more education on data privacy that is sponsored by the federal government or someone to say, educate consumers and say, this is your data and be careful. And
we need a Schoolhouse Rock of privacy.
Schoolhouse Rock. There you go. Bring back Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
I'll vote for that.
Oh my goodness, we do need that.
Yeah. But if anything, Europe is going to really press, in particular the U.S. for this, because half of all this stuff with the DMA and what they're doing against big tech is related to this, right? And, they and the GDPR actually is a lot
GDPR, great example.
Yeah, it's because they are seeing what U.S. tech companies are doing, quote unquote tech companies are doing, harvesting global information about everybody. And so, I don't know. And maybe that's a different lens that U.S. tech companies need to.
Well, it's kind of like when California, when they enact emission standards in California, and that kind of drives it for the whole country. Europe is kind of doing that for the rest of the world in terms of, data privacy and integrity of the data.
They're kind of strong arming everybody, but then they're also learning along the way as well, because they kind of do some goofy things.
It's very, the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, was very influential. When that passed and became a law, we're starting to see after that many laws they didn't try to do exactly GDPR, but they took a lot of stuff from it. So I think that the AI laws and regulations in Europe are going to also influence other jurisdictions, including in the U.S. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you're starting to see a lot of that now, right? NIST recently put out an RFI under assignment of the executive order concerning artificial intelligence, where they're actually looking at content authentication, provenance tracking, synthetic content labeling, economic and security implications, watermarking, all of that good stuff. And the fact that that they sent it as an RFI it's encouraging on one end, but it's like, why are we just now getting to that? We're just now. It took the executive order came out in October of 2023.
23. Yeah. So, 6 months.
Yeah. Well, it's very well crafted. It's one of the better documents I've ever seen. It mentions privacy 30-some times, which I was happy about. But there are basically, the way it's structured is that every month there'll be some major announcement on the U.S. government up until a couple days before Election Day, actually, about what the government is doing on AI.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and as Fortune 500 companies, like you said, Bill, if it start baking into their RFIs, references to the executive order and alignment with those principles, that's where the money's coming from, at least from the commercial space. And so companies will start to tune their offerings to be more transparent and auditable around AI. And I think that's how it's supposed to work. So
I mean, seeing the standards bodies and like, you know, the likes do this kind of thing, I think is huge. Like, I think just maybe a week or so ago, the NTIA released the Artificial Intelligence Accountability Policy Report. I thought that was like, that's a good document. Mm-hmm. I was out, and I did not ask it for the outcomes or to give me an abbreviated.
Did you get the AI generated?
I got the full thing.
Give me the bullet points.
Yeah. Man, I've seen some summaries, dude, and they just don't do justice to the whole thing. Sometimes you just gotta do freaking hard work.
Sometimes you got to read the book and not the cliff notes.
Otherwise, you gotta wait until somebody tells you who actually read the whole thing that you're wrong. Yeah. And then by that time, think about all the damage you did telling other people like nonsense.
Yeah,
I mean, I count on that. I depend on that.
It's good business. Yeah. Well, you know, that's what Debbie does, right? She reads everything. You know, like a bunch of silly people. Read the cleft notes. And then they still don't know what privacy is.
That's true. Yeah, you have to read
there's a lot of people who don't understand
source documents. Absolutely.
Yeah. You gotta read. You gotta educate yourself.
You gotta watch the whole episode of IoT Coffee Talk, not just the AI generated.
Yeah, that's right. Not just the clips.
Not just all the generated clips.
Yeah.
Not just the clips. Yeah.
It's funny. Oh my God.
I think we missed our little tour of Buc-ee's, by the way. I think Rob did a little video tour. So for folks want to rewind on the episode, they can see a little walkthrough of Buc-ee's there and some goodies.
Yeah.
So it looks like we got to wrap this up. But hey, first off, Debbie, it's so good to have you on. This is like fun. It's really cool having you on. Did you have a good time?
Huh? Yeah, this is great. I'm glad I was able to join today.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got to give Bill a hard time for not showing up at the very beginning of the show. So you can take the opportunity right now if you want.
I'm sorry. I mean, you know, he's
like James Brown.
He has to
come in late. He has to come in a little bit late.
That's right. Build the tension a little bit, the dramatic entrance.
Yeah.
Hey, and I actually did not wear a profane T-shirt this time. So
thank you. So
that's nice.
We will still get the explicit rating on our podcast.
Right, yeah, YouTube will tag us. Yeah.
Of course.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we've been branded. But hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Remember, we do the show because number one, we love each other. We love you. And we just love sharing. And we also do it for the kids. Okay. We want to help bridge the digital equity divide. And so if you can, please sponsor, support, Elevate Our Kids at www.elevateourkids.org. And if you're not into charity, remember, pick up a T-shirt, pick up a hoodie, and look good. You know, you're gonna look good. Damn
You're gonna look very educated. People are gonna ask you questions if you wear that.
Yeah, exactly. And then follow us on YouTube. We have the podcast and audio and Buzzsprout. You just look up IoT Coffee Talk, or just go to www.iotcoffeetalk.com, and you can experience all 204 episodes of knowledge dropping every week that we've been doing for the past 4 years. We're running up on our 4th year anniversary, guys. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And so thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Okay.
Right. And by the way, for the last 5 people out there in North America that aren't following the Data Diva, get your ass online and follow her. Man.
Aww.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. No, she's wonderful, doing the good work.
Awesome.
So we'll see everyone. All right. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.